You know them, you love them, all those I'm learning a million languages in a week study routine videos. I binge them too. But then I start doing some math on their study schedules and I'm like, how? So I wanted to take you guys along on how I'm learning Spanish, Armenian, and Tagalog this week and how I'm realistically studying all three at the same time. And I actually think Sunday is the most important day of my routine, so make sure to stick around until then to see why. If you missed that video on how I set my study schedule and how I set these goals, make sure to check that out here. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing I did Monday morning was to take a quick break and post on Instagram in Spanish. This used to take me an entire hour, and it would have to be my entire study session that I would have to do the night before. But now it actually only takes me a few minutes, so it's a super quick, simple way to infuse some Spanish into my day. I know a lot of people love doing daily or weekly journal entries, and I guess this is kind of my version of that. For me, it's a lot easier to open up Instagram than a physical journal, and so it's a lot easier to remember this habit when it's something I already do in my everyday life. I've been using meditation to get through a little bit of that afternoon slump, and I completely forgot that my meditation app was in Spanish. So that was a little bit of a surprising Spanish infusion into my afternoon. So it's Monday and I have a Spanish conversational lesson at 5:30. It's about 5:10 right now. Usually I have these lessons on Fridays just to feel super productive going into the weekend, but last Friday was January 1st and I'm not going to do that to anyone and make her do a lesson on the first of the year. So I moved it to Monday, so I have it today. And I like to do 20 or 30 minutes of Spanish content or Spanish reviewing and talking before I go into my lesson to get those juices flowing. I feel like it takes me 20 minutes to get into Spanish mode, so I want to do that beforehand so I can make the most of the lesson. So I'm going to do, I think, a little bit of babble right before I go into my lesson at 5:30, and see you then. So the first few times I was able to get through an entire hour-long conversation in Spanish, I was so incredibly excited, but it's also because I was talking around a lot of things or rephrasing a lot of the things that I wanted to say. And so I think I'm getting to the point where I need to talk through these things and I need to try out the new grammar that I'm learning. And yes, it's going to mean that I'm failing. It's going to mean that I'm going to get things wrong, but sometimes you just got to do the thing and you got to push through. And that's where I'm at. So then I listened to an Armenian podcast while I was cooking dinner. Because I can't really understand it completely right now, I'm more so listening for the cadence of the language and being able to pick up on those really common words that I can understand right now. When I first started to do this, I could not understand anything, but now I can start to pick out some of those common phrases and common words, which has been a really exciting improvement in such a short time. At about 10 p.m., I did a half an hour of Anki review for Tagalog, which was super rough after taking so long off for the holidays. Usually, I'll mix it up with a little bit more of Drops and other apps, but I knew that I would not be ready for new words and that I should spend more time kind of refreshing my brain on where I was at before the holiday break. Some people love Anki, some people hate it, and I actually only use it for Tagalog. Every single language that I learn has a different approach, different study methods, and it seems like Anki has only really kind of jived with my brain with Tagalog. So maybe I'm somebody that loves it and hates it, depending on what language you ask me about. So usually I don't like to multitask with eating and doing any activity except for maybe watching TV, but today I'm kind of feeling it. So during lunch, I'm gonna do 15 minutes of babble or however long it takes me to eat so that I can kind of knock off some of that study time for Spanish that I have to do later tonight. So 15 minutes, lunchtime, let's go. So it is 6 p.m. on Tuesday. I was all set up, ready to go, ready to study at 5:30. I put a candle on, I got some tea, I put the heater on, and then the heater blew a fuse. And of course, the fuse box is in Narnia, so that was a whole thing. So now I'm back at 6 p.m., ready to study an hour of Armenian. Let's go. I spent the first half an hour working through the exercises at the end of the book before realizing that they relied very heavily on every single word presented to you in the chapter, even those outside of the vocab list. So after that, the next half an hour I spent adding these words to Quizlet and practicing writing them, as well as kind of making my own exercises and making my own sentences based off of these words. And then at 10, I reviewed my Spanish homework and went through all of the words that had been presented to me in the last few lessons and added them into Spanish Dictionary's vocab review system. So I just finished my Spanish lesson that I have every Wednesday. This was the first time in a very long time that I did my homework before it was due, so I didn't have to get up even earlier, which was kind of nice, but at the same time didn't really prep my brain for Spanish, so it's kind of an interesting catch-22. I actually count these lessons as my 1 hour of studying because I think that they actually do me more good than an hour studying on my own. So sometimes when I haven't done my homework ahead of time or I do my Babbel beforehand, it does end up being about 2 hours on that day. But to make it realistic, those hours I spend in my lesson, both lesson and conversational lessons, I do count as my Spanish studying. It is about 8 p.m. on Wednesday right now. Kevin is streaming, and so I am incapable of being quiet, and so I have to be in another room, but it kind of forces me to study. So I'm gonna do a half an hour of Tagalog now and then cook dinner. So I realized on Monday that I need a lot more active review for all of the words that I'm not getting right. So I'm gonna go through Anki, look at all the cards that say leech, which is this isn't working for you, try and make sentences with those or really get well acquainted with those, and that'll probably take up the whole half an hour. So since I don't know enough about Tagalog sentence structure yet to make sentences myself with new vocab words, I tried mixing English and Tagalog sentences together. So I wrote the first half of the sentence in English and then the last half using the Tagalog sentence structure that I do know with the new vocab words. So yes, I do feel like it would be more helpful to do the entire sentence in Tagalog, but I am not quite there yet. I'm close, but not quite there yet. And then surprise, surprise, another Armenian podcast while I'm cooking dinner. So I did this Wednesday and Thursday night, so I'm just going to go straight to the sit-down studying for Thursday. I love Study With Me's and having a virtual study buddy there keeping me accountable. So I'm going to put one on for my Thursday night Tagalog study and see how far I get. So I worked through the Tagalog textbook that I have, just doing normal textbook things for an hour. Pretty straightforward. So I just finished an hour of Tagalog, and even though it was very difficult, I'm glad that I'm continuing to do it because I think consistency is the most important thing, especially right now, and everything's gonna be hard. Everything was hard when I started learning Spanish as well, so I just have to keep going. So now it is 10 p.m. and I'm gonna do an hour of Spanish. I'm feeling a little brain fried after Tagalog, so I'm gonna keep it kind of easy and do Babbel and do more of the review section, so probably 40 minutes of review and then maybe 20 minutes of an actual lesson. I like to save a lot of the review or kind of lower energy activities for when I am feeling a little bit lower in energy so that I can still do something and I can still move forward while paying attention to my energy levels so that they end up evening out in that way. So it's a little late, I'm a little low energy, but we're still gonna do an hour. So I'm gonna spend more time doing the review and see how far I can get in an hour. Happy Friday! So like I said before, I usually have my Spanish conversational lessons on Friday night because you just kind of show up and the magic happens. I mean, you obviously have to be present and there, but you don't have to make your own lesson plan. So it's perfect for a Friday night when you still want to be productive, but you don't have the energy to necessarily make a lesson plan for yourself. But because I did mine on Monday, I do have to make a little bit of a lesson plan for myself tonight. So I think I'm gonna do an hour of Babbel and see how far that'll get me doing only new lessons. Usually I can do about 45 minutes of them with absolutely no problem when I'm really in it. So we'll see how it goes this Friday night. Pizza is in the oven and it's waiting for me on the other side. So let's go. And I actually ended up finishing the entire section of pre-intermediate on Babbel for Spanish. And then I did a half an hour Quizlet review of the Armenian words that I added in on Tuesday. Is this my ideal Friday night? No. In 8 months, I hope that I'm out with 300 of my closest friends complimenting strangers in the bathroom. But for now, this is great and it lets me learn and grow even while I'm inside. So I like to take it easy on Saturdays and just watch a 45-minute documentary in Spanish. I love DW Documental. They just have the most interesting documentaries, so that's what I usually watch. Also, I quickly find out that this is a really bad position to watch a documentary in, and I promptly fell asleep. It's not the documentary's fault. It was really interesting. My body just needed to rest, so I let it. So after waking up again at 9 p.m., I finished off the documentary. So it's midnight, but it's okay. I'm not too worried about it since I took a nap, but I'm gonna go do a half an hour of IO lingo and then go to bed or be wired until 3 a.m. we'll see what happens. But after Iolingo, we'll be done. Hey guys, so now it's Sunday, and I actually think this is the most important day out of all of the days of the week for my language learning, even though I don't actually do any physical language learning on Sundays. So what I do on Sundays instead is I take a step back and I reflect how the week went. So first I take my planner and I add in everything I know that I have to do this next coming week. So those are things like adding in my study schedule, adding in my workout schedule, so that I get a feel for what next week is gonna look like. And then I work through all of the prompts that the planner gives me at the end of the week. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna fill out my planner. I kind of jump around a little bit. So I'll do some reflection and then I'll go back in and add some meetings, and I'll kind of start to piece together how this week went and how I want to move forward into next week from there. So let's go. So I also think this gives me a really good opportunity to just relax, to not feel any guilt about doing a million things on Sunday, and to really take time for myself. I think taking breaks is really important in language learning and letting your brain digest all that information. So Sundays are my days to do it. So first I'll write out my goals and then see everything that I was able to accomplish this week. And for everything that I was able to accomplish, it becomes a little moment to celebrate. So I'll go through, check mark all the things that I was able to do this week, and make sure that I'm on track for certain things. So actually by doing this, I realized that I need to find a Tagalog podcast. So if you guys have any recommendations, make sure to put them in the comments. But for everything else, I feel pretty on track. So then I'll take a second to think about how doing each of these things made me feel. So I was a little low energy, and there was also a lot of review waiting for me. So I wonder if I'm charging ahead a little bit too much and using too much of that energy, and I should be evening out my review a little bit more instead. So I'll try that next week. And from there, I feel like it's pretty easy to determine what I should do the same and what I should do differently next week, because I've gone through the reflection process of what did I do, how did it make me feel, and how can I improve upon it next week. So these are the study methods that work for me. I think some of these reflection methods are pretty universally helpful, but if your study schedule looks absolutely nothing like mine, but it's working for you, like, keep going and doing your thing. And if it does look like mine and you're feeling some guilt about, oh, I need to wake up at dawn or whatever and have the perfect morning routine, I hope that you can find some comfort that I am right there with you with doing these things chaotically, late at night, and semi-random. But it's all a process, it's all a journey that has its moments of confusion, clarity, success, hardship, just like everything else. So don't worry too much, just keep doing the thing and you'll get there. So I hope this was a nice little glimpse into how I'm studying 3 languages at once, especially in the first few weeks of 2021. Let me know what other videos you want to see on my language learning journey or anything else language or culture related in the comments below. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.